BJ Counsel. I view the world through the lens of having been followed by a white clerk as a child while shopping in a five and dime. I'm a retired police executive and own UN50, which gives guidance on surviving interactions with police.
I'm Harmony Chavis, and I view the world through the lens of one of the most misunderstood and diverse generations in our nation's history. I'm a social worker and a believer of radical kindness and love as modalities of healing.
My name is Andrew Counsel. I view the world through the lens of a generational camera phone. I wake up as a black male and go to bed as a black male. I am surviving this never-ending court case we commonly call life in the best way I know how.
All right, so welcome back, folks. This is our last podcast. Hope everybody enjoyed their Thanksgiving and had time with their family. This is UN50. For those of you that don't know, we are from Durham, the Bull City in North Carolina. UN50 is a business where we go around teaching individuals how to safely interact with law enforcement. Well, we talk about a little bit of everything. And so this is our last podcast for the year. And so we're going to kind of be reminiscing a little bit about what we talked about and what we usually do. Well, this is the second time we've done this, but I'm going to have my folks that support UN50 come forth and talk to us about, why they support my business and why they support UN50, but also I want them to talk about their business. I have a lot of folks that some folks know, some folks don't know, that people that are behind the scene that help me be UN50 and get the message out. And so we're going to get a chance to introduce them to you and also let you know what kind of work they do in case you might need their service. So how you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing very well. Everything's going good, blessed, breathing. All the major vitals are fine.
That's always a good thing. So, like I said, what we're going to do is just kind of go over just think about some of the things or topics that we talked about. Our first topic when we started I started with Harmony, and it was just Harmony and I, because Andrew could make it. We called it was reimagining policing, as to whether or not, what that could look like from compassion and humanity. And I still believe that that's possible. Over the course of the conversations we've had, talking to individuals in education and policing. One we had with retired police chief Tony Godwin, he actually used the word progressive, and I kind of took me by surprise that you use the word progressive in the same sentence when you talk about police chiefs. So that to me means that, at least for me, that's probably reimagining policing through compassion and humanity. What do you think, Andrew?
I think that's it. I had a chance to go back and listen to some, so I would appreciate the conversation that you all were able to have. And I think the word progressive is interesting to think about when thinking about, I guess, where policing has come from, and its origin. Then you can say, okay, yeah, it's progressive. You can kind of agree with that. And I think it's very subjective to different parts of the world and different parts of the U.S. in general. I'm not going to speak on my experiences with police officers, just in general. And I think being able to see it with my own eyes, I've seen a change in some places, and I've seen it degrade in some areas as well too. So I think it's progressive, but I think there's work still to be done for us to do as individuals. Yeah,
I think it is a lot. And the other thing that we had on here was Glenda Beard, who was my mentor back in earlier in the part of the year. And she was one of the first Black females to join the Durham Police Department. And because of her opening the door, allowed me to come in and do some things as well too. So I think when we talk about reimagining policing, I think it also, we have to realize that she opened a door for the rest of us to come in, and other black bodies did that as well for us to follow behind. But we also, now that we're part of the system, we can also help the individuals that are coming behind us, because now we've been in the system, and so we know how the system works. You know what I'm saying? So we can look at it from being there early on, understanding how the system works. She opened the door, and now it's time for us to help share some of that information, which could possibly lead to reimagining policing.
Right. That's a great movie theme. I think that's isn't I'm a movie head, but I like that idea. Just, but I enjoy talking to her. I enjoy listening to her talk.
Yeah, yeah, I do too, and I owe her a lot, and as do a lot of continuing folks that are entering law enforcement. Still, also kind of think earlier this year, I think it was, or either maybe it was last year, um, in New York, first Black female to be the head of the patrol or something like that. And I just thought it was kind of interesting that we're still having first Black something in 20 or 2021, that those things are still happening. But I guess the silver lining is at least they're happening, you know?
Right.
So, and then the other thing that I also like, we had Mr. Principal John Williams from Phoenix Academy. And I like the title of that one too. And it also kind of fills into what we've been talking about. That one of the things is that they aren't problem children, they're children with problems. And that kind of falls into being compassionate and humanity, that people, there's nothing wrong with the children. We just got to figure out how to help them because they have issues. So I kind of I think we kind of stayed a little bit on the theme. What do you think?
I think so too. I think we talk about this a lot too, about how sometimes our perceptions of police are subsequent to maybe the actions that we have going on in our brains. Like I think what you mentioned to me before about if we figure out how to, solve, common problems or things or disagreements where you don't have to call the police for, but you call the police for. And I think that starting with kids and having them understand their mentals and breaking down their things, there's a lot of developmental things that happen at that age. So that can carry on to you being 30 and 40 years old. So I think making that change. And I think that's exactly what he's doing at his school, is making sure that children understand how prudent this time in their lives is, and to be able to spread that ideology to us and to others who are listening, that, there aren't, children who are just doing things for no reason. There's a background behind the things that they do.
Exactly. And I think that kind of folds right into, our last podcast that we had reference Alternative to Violence Project. It's the learning how to resolve problems. I think they use the term of there's always an opportunity to resolve conflict without violence. And just, still piling on what you just said about the fact, we teach kids early how to resolve their conflict, then the world's going to be a better place. So all of that is a path toward reimagining policing and also more compassionate humanity. And then we had, and this is just before that one, we had Ms. McNair on from the Durham Crisis Response Center. And that was the most downloaded show we've had on this podcast. Within 72 hours, close to 50 people had downloaded that. And I'm sure it's not anything that I did, but just probably the networking for individuals who work in that field of working with people who are victims of sexual assault and domestic violence. So I'm really happy about if I were to choose a podcast to have been downloaded the most, that would have been the one. And I'm just so happy about that.
I agree. I enjoyed that one a lot too, because she gave me a lot of insight that I had no idea, into a world that I had no idea about. And I would always see it on TV, and I always used to say, like, that was something that I could not see myself doing. And I still agree with that same theory. I don't see myself doing like that. That's a lot of stress, and not only stress, but just thinking about how, like, I think when she was talking about how when she goes home, like, she doesn't watch the news or anything because she lives that through a day to day. So I think that was a good understanding of how policing relates to that, and how, like, the people who serve in her role serve as like the middle ground between, I guess, like, citizens and those who need the police. So I think it was good to understand, like, her point of view and to be able to share that, I guess, like, and I think one of the reasons, like you said, why that was the most viewed one or the most listened to one, because like you said, people were able to empathize with her and understand what she was going through. And I think there's a lot of people who need that support.
Yeah, the fact that she was willing to expose, her personal, trauma
Right.
was such a and I think she mentioned too that she had not even a lot of her coworkers and colleagues weren't even aware of her trauma, so the fact that she did that. So yeah, I was real excited about that. So one of the things that so that was just kind of a recap. Hopefully, the other thing that we did real quick was that we redid the reposted defund policing. That exercise that we did in 2020, we felt like that was something that needed to, people to come back to. And if you're interested in listening to that, and the reason I wanted to kind of put that back out there was it just kind of gives people, especially those folks out there who are working toward police reform and reimagining policing, just to have an idea of what defunding looks like, how to get involved with that, and just from a different perspective. So I think what I want to try next year, we're still going to be doing the podcast. Hopefully we'll stay on the schedule that we're on, but what we're going to try to do, I think, listening this, going back to my friend Tony Godwin, we're going to try to look at up and coming police officers. People want reform, and so my opinion is that the leadership and the folks that are going to make the change in law enforcement are on the street today. They're the 21-year-olds. They're the ones that were 10 years old when Rodney King happened. They're the ones that were 15 and 17 years old when Eric Garner happened. And Michael Brown, 16 years old, and they are becoming police officers. Right. So I think what they have lived, if they still want to be a police officer, having come up doing those names, I think the future is good, because that I believe that they're going to be looking at it through the lens of how to make it better.
Right.
You think?
I agree with that as well. Absolutely. I think something that we can do going into the next year, like you said, is looking at the different, different aspects of how different people look at policing, and different facets. Like something that I was thinking about would be cool for next year would be to, I guess not just because I work in media, but I think media has a large impact on how the community sees police in general. Because they may not always, depending on the source, they may not always show the good things that police are doing. They're showing the bad, or vice versa. They may not show all the bad, they're just showing the good. So I think maybe talking to someone who I guess helps in some way publicize the content and media that goes out about police, because that to me greatly contributes to the view that we have of who they are, what their purpose is on this planet, as an occupation, and how what can we do to kind of not really warp the view that we have, but I guess to balance it out, to not take it with a grain of salt, but to see things as they are, and that's police are.
You know what? That's actually really good. I saw something about the discussion about policing in the media, and I think that's a good suggestion. I'm definitely going to I'll get Crystal to help me do that. But it is. I mean, it's how the media does these incidents. Not that they don't need to be reported. But I think I mentioned before on a show talking about Michael Brown. The Department of Justice did a full-blown investigation, interviewed over 100 people, and it's the witnesses said he never had his hands up, right? But mainstream media didn't go back and put that in there. I mean, there were comments about some folks that he was aggressive toward the officer, and I mean it was just a different perspective. So I think that's a good idea, but how the media plays into how folks view law enforcement in this moment, and they're not taking anything away from how they view law enforcement, but what role is it that the media plays? I think that's a good idea. Thank you very much. So you may end up having to help find someone that might want to come in and give us that perspective, because that'd be really cool. I like that.
I think it should be, and not say it should be easy to do, but I think there's a lot of I don't know, even if we get some quotes to just kind of ask different questions about what maybe their point of view on how the media contributes to whether we see things. I think it makes a large impact.
Yeah, cool. And then the other part that I'm thinking about doing too is I've met some very young officers, and they love it. I mean, they're committed, they're compassionate, and so I want to meet them and bring them on the show because I want people to understand some of the leadership in some organizations, not all of them, may be a little slow on making this turn toward reimagining. But what I want people to understand, there are officers, young officers that are going to be the leaders of these organizations in a matter of years, in a few years. And I want people to understand it's coming. It may be a little slow, especially if we still have some folks that are hesitant to make this turn. I want them to realize that there are some young officers, Officer Millennial, Officer Gen Z, and Officer Future. I mean, they're there and they're coming, and they get it, especially with them having grown up. Like I said, some of them were 10 years old and 16 years old doing Trayvon and Michael Brown, and now they're still stepping into this profession.
Yeah.
I think so. I think because you're what are you, Gen Z?
Yes.
You're Gen Z. I mean, you have a whole different philosophy and outlook. You've come, you guys, at least in my old boomer eyes, you guys look through the lens of life with compassion. And as you've said, and I've heard other Gen Z folks, I'm not here to work harder. I'm here to work smarter. I'm not really looking to, that the only thing I'm looking forward to is retirement. I want to live my life. And I think that's what, these young officers may also bring to the table, that, they want to live their lives. They want to make other people's life happy or better. And I think that's something that can happen. So we're going to be trying to do some of that next year, and just kind of look through the lens of, the future of law enforcement, and still kind of touching on some of the things that we've talked about, mental health and those types of things. So,
yeah, I think I was going to add to what you said as well too. I think something that I've noticed about people who I guess not abide by it, but are in my generation or around my age, kind of not all, because all of us don't do this. Some of us do, but have the mentality of the occupation that I would want to go into. I would like to do that position and be that person that I needed when I was younger. So, for example, the officers who are my age, like they have some of them have the mentality and say, I want to be the police officer that I needed when I was younger. So be
Right.
that for the community, for someone, and so not only compassion but kindness and sternness, and understanding that they have to be very intentional about what they do in the occupation that they serve, because it's a public service position. So a lot of people have that mentality. Not all, but I do think that generally, I had that view about what I do for a living. I think a lot of people do around my age. I think not just my age, but that specifically, just because I can speak on what I have an affinity towards.
I like that. But you're right. I mean, it may not be everybody, but I think it's going to be enough folks that are interested to make that change, because they definitely came up in this moment. So yeah, so that's kind of, hopefully, you guys are listening as you get ready to go into the holidays, and will join us in 2022. Just a little bit of what I'm thinking about doing. Not sure we're going to be as often for 2022, but we definitely want to be speaking specifically about the way toward compassionate and more humanity, and the fact that reimagining policing can happen with people who are in the right mindset, I think. All right, so what we're going to do now, we're going to have some of my people that you don't usually see as part of UN50 who give me the support. They're going to have them come on and join us and talk to us. They're going to tell you about, I'm going to introduce them to you, and what they do for me. And hopefully, if you decide that you need some assistance in the expertise or in the field that they are in, that you can reach out and connect with them. So my two, right now I have two folks that wait on one of my other co-hosts to come on, Harmony, and I have Christopher Downey and Abby Bradadich, and we're going to just kind of end the year out talking about what they do and how they support you and 50, why they support you and 50. We're gonna just I'm going to start in the order of who I met, and it's going to be Chris. And I'm going to go ahead and just put it out there because I babysat Chris back in the day when I was at North Carolina Central University. His mother was, because I started out as a sociology major, his mother was an administrative assistant in that department. And great woman. Would love to see her, Chris. I would love to see her. Maybe one day. Yeah, she was just really sweet. So that was just like, so that's how I met Chris. And then we found each other in a grocery store. We ran into each other at a grocery store. So Chris, Chris is my producer for the podcast. So Chris, tell us a little bit about Digital Downey.
It's Downey Digital, but thank you though. So Downey
I knew I was gonna get that wrong. I knew I was gonna get, because I always get it wrong. But you know, I'm old. So tell us a little bit about what I want you guys to do is just talk about your business. You start your business, and like I said, if anybody needs your service, I want them to run through you and 50, and then we're gonna talk. Then after you do that, just why you, because these individuals are working with me. You don't get to see them. You probably see their work, obviously, because he produces you and 50. Abby is my design and marketing. Your social media, it's all her. And I have Crystal Roberts, who's been with me from the very beginning. She's my public relations and media consult. So, but you know, why that you're, because I'll just go ahead and, these individuals are just as passionate about you and 50 as I am. And I think that's hard to find. You know, you have consultants that work with you and, you know, it's like, do the work, consultant, but these individuals have taken on you and 50 and it means a lot to me. So Chris, go ahead and talk about your business and then why you decide to hang out with BJ.
Well, Downey Digital is my company. I am the sole proprietor, and it is a company dedicated to producing digital content, long form, short form, campaign material for marketing companies. It's a business to business normally in terms of clients that I work with. I've been in television for 20 plus years in operations. So that kind of is the background in communications.
Wow.
But this is a more, for me, this is a more personal thing, even though it is business. You know, typically what I've found out is that anyone that wants to sit down in front of a microphone and press record and play, it's because whatever it is they want to say, they want to help other people. That's always been across the board every time that I have. Whatever it is they're talking about is because they want to help other people. No one starts a podcast and sits down and decides to convey information or enlighten people or update them without wanting to help other people. And that's kind of why I do it, is to help other people achieve whatever mission or message that they have to an audience, or to kind of grow an audience. That's the in general, but and with yours, in your case, with you and 50, I think my connection with it is that I think that the mission that you have taken on is valuable, BJ. I think that you know, saving lives is always a valuable mission, especially when there are alternatives in terms of how someone can react in a situation with law enforcement. And you have the double edge of having been in law enforcement, and you're also just a citizen. And so you have a background of relatedness with that, and can kind of give people, you know, an advantage. That's what people need. We need to hear from you. I think people need to hear this, you know, and that's kind of why I work with you guys and have a passion project with you guys. Everybody is, I'm not like that with every single client, but, you know, I knew you. Plus I already knew you. I know you were a good person, and, you know, we go way back. So that's kind of my spill on that. And then, you know, the team you surrounded yourself with Harmony, Andrew, Abby, and Crystal, I mean, these are good, loving people, man, you know?
Yeah, and I appreciate that. It's good energy. You're absolutely right.
It's good energy.
There's
a vibe, right? Exactly.
Yeah, there's good energy, and I really appreciate it. And Harmony just sent me a text. My other co-host, she's not going to be able to make it. She's making that dollar bill. So,
I got it. I understand.
Yeah, so I ain't mad at her. So Shout out to Harmony. Sorry I couldn't make it on the last podcast. So Abby, actually Harmony introduced me to Abby, but I also think it's the universe because, she has just been just an amazing asset to what I do, because I have no idea what she does. I just know she does a really good job at it. And especially when it comes to a boomer who has no idea about social media and what to say and all that kind of stuff. I think, the thing about Abby that has made me just fall in love with her work and her personality is that she took on UN50, my passion. Within less than 6 months, she knew my passion, and she basically, I tell her all the time, she speaks fluent UN50. And that means a lot as a business to have somebody that basically can speak my language and speak it with the passion and the tone that I know and I like. So thank you very much for that, Abby. So let's hear about your business and what you do, and then what is it that keeps you here with UN50?
I guess I don't have like an official business yet, but I work freelance. I am going to be building my business over the next couple of months and launching that next year. More officially online. I always find it funny because I'm online for everybody else and not for myself.
Right. Yeah, kind of like the car mechanic that rides around in a broken car. But go ahead.
Exactly. But yeah, I do graphic and web design, social media marketing, and branding. So I work with a lot of small businesses, a lot of entrepreneurs. Most of them at this point are kind of in North Carolina, but I work with some in Texas and Washington, where I used to live. But most of my clients, like I said, they're small businesses. And what I really enjoy, especially, is working with companies that have like a mission that I align with, especially when they're community focused. And obviously that ties in really well with you, BJ. You're all about the community, and that aligns with what is important to me. And then I guess what else I enjoy is I've heard so many of your presentations and listening to the podcast and stuff. So for me, speaking for you comes naturally after hearing that so many times, and hearing how you respond to people, and understanding both where they're coming from and where you're coming from, because obviously I don't have this lived experience. So for me, it's really important to get to see that part of things in order for me to then translate it online in content and through the voice of you, basically. And your passion and commitment to this work is so palpable and infectious that it's really easy to just jump on board and follow along. It's not hard for me to be a part of this. And your type A-ness is the perfect thing for me, BJ. I don't ever have to remind you of things. So many other entrepreneurs, I have to remind them to send me stuff or get on top of them to do things, and I never have to do that with you. So perfect.
Thank you. And same back at you, because I appreciate your type A-ness too. So it's a love fest when it comes to that. So thank you. I really appreciate that. And I think the part that I want people to kind of to hear is that, she talks about the fact she does small businesses and she looks for the business that resonates with her. And that, I think that means a lot, especially for those of us who are small business, because I'm the business. And to have someone like that and have a team like I have, it's a blessing, and it's very humbling to have that kind of energy around me. So thank you, Abby, for everything that you do, and Chris too. Yeah. And the other person is Crystal Roberts, my public relations and media person. She's been with me since the first ink on UN50 when we started back in started this discussion of UN50 in 2014. She and Jackie Fountain and April Brown and Jackie's husband, we were all sitting around a table in their home and Jackie and Rob's home to actually start this. And she has been with me literally since the word go for UN50. And it's meant a lot. She and I have known each other for a while. She worked with the Durham Police Department as the public relations person there, and that's how we met. And then she came back into my world recently, and I'm just excited to have her with me as a spiritual sister. And she's crazy as crapola, and then it's also nice to have another old person up here with me as well too. Yeah. So Crystal knows the ins and out of UN50, and she's the person that pushes me out to the rest of the community. So Crystal, you want to talk about Mountaintop and why you keep hanging out with me in UN50?
So, as BJ said, we've been together a long time, and just hit it off from the very beginning. And the reason is because, just her spirit and her soul and her heart for doing good, right, is what resonated. And she's fun and crazy too. But, and also, you talk about type A, I'm kind of the opposite. So,
yeah, you are.
I love that, because I like being around smart people and people who are high achievers because it helps me.
Right. Set the example.
But also I am committed to ensuring through Mountaintop and just through my work, just how I walk through life. I'm committed to ensuring that that people are served. And that's what BJ is all about. So, she didn't have to beg or ask, it's like, where do I need to be and when? And tell me, if you tell me I need to be there at 11, I'm gonna put it down for 10, because,
as long as you recognize.
Always doing something, trying to do 2 and 3 things at one time. But Mountaintop is basically, I started it early in the late 1990s as a kind of an aside, an avocation, if you will, because I've always worked full time. And I got it from, James Baldwin's Go Tell It on the Mountain. And that's what we do in PR. Now, PR failed because I'm the only one without a UN50 backdrop. So I'm not marketing very well. So either I did not read, reading is fundamental, or I didn't listen or something. But I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. So, but back behind me are the people that we help, they're, because I got my children back here. So, we help.
Right.
This represents the folks that we work for. But at any rate, that I started Mountaintop so that I could, do the work, the strategic communications work all the time, because I kind of live, eat, and breathe it. I love it. So, it's not full time for me, but I give my clients my full time, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
I work, during the day, and then, if there are times that my clients need me during the day, I say, here's when I can be all yours, and then I'm working into the night or whatever the case may be. But that's Mountaintop. It's a boutique PR firm that provides assistance to our clients in strategic communications that yield results, and that, really make sure that people take action. We want results, we want fruits from the labor. And in order for that to happen, you have to have the right clients. So BJ is my blue chip. I mean, really and truly, she is the pinnacle of what a client that who runs a business that is truly committed to servant leadership. So I'm just proud and privileged to be a part of it. And when I was able to come back, I thought the universe does love me.
Yes, it does.
So
yes, it does.
that's Mountaintop. Mm-hmm.
Wow, thank you. I didn't know it was going to be kind of a BJ Love Fest, but thank you very much as we go into the holidays. I really appreciate that.
We love you, BJ.
Yeah, I hear you. So thank you all for that. I really appreciate, and I want folks to know if you need any of these individuals that I can't say enough about them. They all make me, like I said, I'm it. I'm the business, but they make me feel like I'm a corporation, and that's how I move through the space because I've got that kind of foundation, I've got that kind of support. So I appreciate everything that everybody is doing and helping with me. Andrew, what you got anything? I'm not using you yet though. What kind of business you got? I know Abby's. Oh yeah, you're I haven't hired you, but I know Abby's been kind of mentoring you on the side a little bit.
We only talked once, but I keep him in mind all the time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I do something similar to Abby, but it's like I'm not the pro. Abby's the pro, so go to Abby. But I'm learning. I'm learning as I have time to learn. But it's similar, just like you said, helping startups with their marketing and their acquisition in regard to like bringing customers in. I've helped a few customers similar to Abby that are local, and now one that's out of California that I just helped through. She's a family friend of a friend, but
Got to start somewhere.
Yeah, gotta start somewhere.
That's how it starts.
Yeah, that's how it starts. Yep. And you know, and the fact that we're all small businesses, I think that's also another unique thing. But we're all small businesses, and we're all working together. You know, we're complementing each other. Hopefully, you know, I'm doing something for all of them. If they need something from me as far as testimony and all that kind of stuff, but we're four or five small business persons in one space. And I think that means that says a lot. I think that says a lot that we're all here. So just want to get ready to close out and thank my team. I'm looking forward to 2022. I hope those of you that have been with us for 2021 will join us again in 2022. We'll, you know, keep talking about the stuff that we need to talk about, and if anybody has any suggestions about ideas or conversations, please just let us know. And if any of these individuals, PR, graphic design, and podcast communications, and all those folks, I would suggest you call U&50 because I got the crew for you. So they're definitely here to help you out. So as always, thanks for joining us, and Happy New Year, Merry Christmas to all of you, because this is our last podcast for the year. And we'll see you in the new year. And as always, stay safe, stay well. Peace.